Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Profit Minds podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Stephen 𝐭𝐞𝐯, creator of the Profit Minds Growth System, a unique blend of profit growth, productivity acceleration, and building robust business process for scale. In every episode, I interview entrepreneurs and small business owners from around the world with a unique story to tell. You can find the show on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple and Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and more. Well, hi, everyone. Today, my guest is Leslie Hassler, an author, speaker, and founder of Your Biz Rules, a fractional C-suite firm. And today, we're going to talk about the foundational elements of business growth and scaling. Welcome, Leslie.
Howdy, Steve. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah. So the first question I ask every guest, tell us your story. How did you get here? How did Your Biz Rules come to be?
Well, I like to tell everybody that I have an MBA, and the MBA is from the School of Hard Knocks. And I had the pleasure of failing a few classes along the way, stumbling, picking myself up, and moving on. And I do think in that journey, if you will, sums up how I got here. I've been an entrepreneur for going on 18 years now. This is Your Biz Rules is my third business. I have done a lot of different ways of trying to figure out how to grow and scale. And had a few key learnings along the way. You know, my first business we opened in 2007. Sorry. So we had the 2008 to 2009 wonderful economic period that it was, that I got to go through. I had that pleasure. That was one of those classes that I've definitely failed.
A lot of people failed that one.
Yeah. But you know what? It taught me so much. And that experience, because that first business was something completely different. I will say that experience is what put me on the road to Your Biz Rules. So I'm thankful for it today, although I was not very happy in the moment. But I can see, you know, having a few years behind me, what that taught me and why what we share is so important for people. Because I'll kind of give you the truth bomb of the moment. For me, I learned that you can have an okay business in okay or good times. You're going to make money, but you can't have a meh or an okay business in bad times. That's when you go out of business. And the best time to be working on your business is today. There is no better time. And I kind of carried that forward in this business, which is why I think we were able to manage 2020 without, really breaking too much of a sweat, how we've come out of it, and how we actually probably even grew stronger because of it.
Yeah. Yeah. What is the ancient Chinese saying or the Zen saying, right? The best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago, and the second best time is today.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So absolutely resonate with that. And the other thing, people talk about, in bad times, what do you do? Well, when times get tough, that's the time when you really need to invest in your business. Because if you do that and your competitors don't, when times get better, assuming you make it through the bad times, you're going to be that much better off.
So true. You know, there's a Harvard Business Review article that came out, and it's a few years old, but it was studying what created resilient businesses after economic upheaval, whatever that would be. So they went back through the major points through the last, I don't know, 5, 6 decades and said, okay, what is it? And one of the key concepts that has really stuck with me that I like to share here is that in moments of stress, you need to have a restrained defensive system in place and a comprehensive offensive system in place. And to that matter, to what we're talking about now, if you think about it, most people, when they get into moments of stress, they shut it all down. They go uber conservative, pull everything back. They try to be safe. And of those businesses that try to play it safe in tough times, not many actually make it. those businesses that try to do the Hail Marys, that put in all their eggs in one basket because this is what's going to save us, they don't do very well either. It really does take this balance. And I think that, we're going to get to that today when we talk about balance, but it takes managing your business with a lens to balance, even when your emotions may be in the tank because of what's going on in your business environment. But I think you still have to do that, even when you're extremely excited and over the moon about something, about maintaining balance, because it is one of those key concepts that creates sustainability in the business, if you will.
Yeah, yeah. So let's dive right into that balance thing.
Yeah.
And what are some of the, when you say defense versus offense, what are the things that you classify as defense?
So think about defense as a risk mitigation. You're trying to think of all the things that could go wrong per se, and we really don't have too hard of a time doing that, right? But when you think of those, what plans are you putting into place to shelter against it? And I'll use that word a lot with our clients when I'm like, we're sheltering against the risks. We're protecting against the risks. We can't prevent the risks. A lot of times the risks are outside of your control. Prevent what you can, but most people will shut down because of the risks, because the risk is too great. But I challenge that thought process into the fact that owning a business is nothing more than taking risks on a minute by minute basis. It is almost the very nature of business is risk. So your job with setting up a restrained defensive system is to be aware of what the risks are. Let me give you an awesome example. So I don't know if you like Formula One. My husband and I love Formula One.
Okay.
And I especially love it when they
They're
turn
making
on.
another left turn. Oh, wait.
They're making it, I know, right? But I love it when the drivers and the crew are talking and we get to hear that bit of that conversation. Now they know everybody else is listening, so they don't say a whole lot of things. But if you listen to them, they've got code that they're talking about.
Of
They
course.
go, you know what? They're going, oh, my tires are not going to last this next corner, or I took on too much gravel, my tires are not performing. We're going to have to go to plan B. That is that conscious effort of them actually mitigating risks. They talked about it in their planning meeting the week before. What would happen if Piastri gets ahead? Now, Piastri and Norris, if you know anything right now, they're kind of neck and neck, and they're on the same team, and they're being allowed to race, which is pretty amazing. But Norris, this last race, just, he was like, Piastri got ahead. And they're like, oh, we're going to have to go to plan A. And I thought that was so interesting. That meant they didn't start with plan B. Now they're reverting back to plan A because the circumstances changed. That, I think, is a great example of mitigating the risks. What happens if our tires fail? We burn through too much gas. Piastri gets ahead of us. What happens if Verstappen gets ahead of us? Right? It's thinking through all of those, if you will, what if scenarios and having a plan, sheltering against them. If this happens, we'll do Y. If this happens, we'll do, Z. If this happens, we'll do plan C, whatever those things are. Taking the time to think through it means that in the moment when you have it, you're not reacting, you're being strategic. You can say, that's okay, we planned for this, plan A. That's what we're doing today. So that's kind of on that offensive or defensive maneuver. The offense is where you are actively powering into opportunity, powering into growth. In times of stress, let's say, are actually some of the best times for opportunity, because while everybody else is maybe freaking out, let me let go of my staff. Well, suddenly, if they had quality staff and you need that resource, if you can lean into the opportunity, you can bring on staff right into your business that could take the trajectory of your business and skyrocket it. Case in point, there's something that I have a wild guess. I'm going to put on my mind reading cap, Steve, and I'm going to say, I bet you order from Amazon
On occasion.
on occasion. Do you know that was born out of a time of stress, if you will?
Mm-hmm.
of taking advantage of an opportunity. Something that most of every listener here has used at least once, if not a lot more than that,
A lot of
was
times. Yeah.
born out of a comprehensive offensive strategy.
Right.
Right. So I think those are two kind of examples of how to think about this. We're always thinking about, I think you have to balance, again, there's that word, always considering everything that could go wrong with everything that can go right. And as soon as you've prepared for what can go wrong, phenomenal. Now we have strategy for that. Put it to bed and go chase the things that can go right, because those will be the things that drive your business forward, create profit, that create scalability, that give you the ability to get where you want to go to.
How do you tell what you said balance, right? And I'm sure
Mhm.
it's not a 50-50.
No,
How do you decide how much energy, effort, resource you put into the defense versus the offense? What's the right balance?
the balance is going to vary situation to situation, business to business. But let me tell you what I would look at. First off, I'm going to look at the numbers of the business. What are the numbers of the business saying to us? Because numbers can't lie, even if we have sneaky suspicions. Oftentimes the numbers will either validate or contradict, because the numbers themselves cannot lie. They don't have emotions, if you want to think about it that way. So I'm always leaning into the numbers. Now, there might be a case to where, case in point, we have a client who we act as a fractional CFO for this client. Has had an amazing amount of growth coming on, and one of the things they wanted us to look at was cash flow. And so, in putting in the tools and looking at the reports and all the nice fun things, I was like, I might need you to pause. And he's like, what do you mean pause? He's like, I want to grow. I'm going to keep doing this. I was like, you can always choose to do that. However, the consequence of that choice is you're robbing your business of the cash to be able to facilitate the next level growth. And you've aggressively done this, in a sequence that effectively you're depleting your cash. And what we need to do is be in a period of what I would call recovery. Now, recovery is a normal part of the growth and scalability cycle, one most people skip. And in this case, recovery allows your team to re-energize, you as the owner to re-energize, but also for your bank account to fill back up. And because growth is really expensive, it takes money out of the business. And if all you're doing is exhaling, which is that growth, you don't take that moment to inhale, you're going to pass out at some point in time, and your business will too. So that's kind of that instance to where we're using the tools and the KPIs in the business to help guide strategy. The strategy in this case is, yeah, we can definitely have an aggressive, in this case, way aggressive offensive strategy. However, we have to pause enough for the money to catch up. And that, I will think, is a lot of what we see with really ambitious entrepreneurs. And I'm going to tell you, I'm one of them. But where the entrepreneur's pushing the business so far, so quick, so aggressively, that the cash gets further and further away. And essentially what happens is, and if you can see my hand, you'll see like growth, we're leading edge over here. The cash goes off screen. It just doesn't have the time to catch up. And so we need to use the tools of our business, the KPIs, to understand that we just need to take a break. We need a pit stop. Even Formula One takes pit stops. Take the pit stop, allow the cash to catch up so that it can continue to fund future growth and scalability.
Yeah. I mean, it reminds me of athletes as well, right? The same kind of thing,
Exactly.
right? That one of the most important things for professional athletes is sleep,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And they also do, periodization of their training plans. Well, they'll run hard for 3 or 4 weeks in a row if they're a runner, right? And
Yep.
then take a week where they pull back and let
Yeah.
their body recover. And they also don't necessarily, particularly when you get to be my age, you don't train every day. You train for a couple of days and then you take a day off and you train for a
Yeah.
couple of, so you allow your muscles to recuperate. It's the same kind of thing, right?
It is. And it's a strategy. We have we implement it in our own company, help clients that want to bring it into theirs, but we actually take pauses as a company, if you will. So we take what we call the low power mode. So if you think of your phone, right, when it gets into low power mode and maybe you can't put it on a charger right away, it starts limiting certain systems
Mm-hmm.
in the power cycle. Well, we take a week that we call low power mode, which means we're here, we're in the office. A lot of times it's internal time. So we don't meet with any clients. It's the 13th week of every quarter. We incubate, if you will. We hibernate, if you will. We take care of the stuff that maybe we haven't been able to take care of that's, adds baggage and weight, adds mental weight to our brains. We get ready for the next quarter with our clients. And then generally, it's a quiet time in the company. Well, that is I guess, a more active strategy of recovery that I don't think most people even consider is possible to do in their business. And I will tell you, it is pretty life changing. It is really challenging to get everyone to do it all the time, but it is when we do it, it does some amazing things.
Yeah. Well, we had a similar kind of thing. I worked at Intel for just shy of 22 years. And
Congratulations.
and we had a thing that everybody got. It was, from my perspective, the best benefit of working at Intel. It
Yeah.
was an 8-week sabbatical every
Mm,
7 years. And every employee, and it was part of the culture.
yes.
Now, we didn't shut down the business for a
Nope.
week, but you had somebody cover the stuff that you normally did. And of course, the only thing that really mattered was the sort of day-to-day operations, the strategic stuff you could just let go.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but it was a part of the culture, and everybody understood that you were not only not going to be showing up every day, but you were not going to be checking your email.
Yeah. It's a
Um,
freedom, isn't it?
it was wonderful.
Yeah. And that
It
freedom comes from structure.
Yeah. And part of it, and you may want to think about this for your company as well. Part of it was, it took about 2 weeks for me to get into the mode of just slow down. It doesn't have to be done today. And the mental relaxation that happened, not in the first 2 weeks, but after that, that was really transformational. Um,
It is. I mean, I think time off and time out is impactful and important. One of our team member just this week, it was a day, right? It was a
yeah.
day. It's not it's hugely long, but she was like, I worked really hard on not responding and not checking. And I was like, phenomenal. You need to not check. You need to have that time. She goes, it's amazing how freeing that was. She's like, I also felt like I was going through FOMO. And I was like, you didn't miss anything. We got your back. And
Yeah.
but and like you were saying with Intel, and the reason why I was like, there's structure behind this is because that's what we have in our company as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
is we have set up the structures of our business. So I think we had two team members last year take a month off. And when they were gone, things still happened. When, leaving, they weren't hit with all the, I don't know, emotional drama that can sometimes come. And then they didn't burn up on reentry
Yeah.
because we have a structure that just allows for a little more flow, if you will. And we know how, as a team, we can collaborate to pick up the ball and run with it. Now, are we always 110% whatever that person would do? No, but we're good enough to make it through the time.
Right.
And that, I think, is, again, we come back to this recovery kind of aspect. I think this is a really big missing part of small business, is because we feel like so much responsibility as the owner is on our shoulders. If we're not doing it, then who is? That we never stop to think about, but if that is the goal, if the goal is to have more freedom, if the goal is to have a quality of life at the end of the day, why are we not building a business model that can support it and a business structure that supports it?
Yeah.
Because if not, then some piece is out of alignment, and it just means we'll be like a backfiring car, lurching forward every 3 seconds. And it's much more of a struggle than I think it really needs to be.
Yeah, I think that's something that we find with our clients as well, is that the CEO is often the chief everything officer as opposed to the chief executive officer, and that's not scalable.
No, it's not.
So I'd like to dig into you because I know you have a book coming out
Sure.
on scaling rich, and so I'd
Yes,
I'd like to talk a little bit about the strategies in scaling, and
sure.
what is it that you find that's missing from these small businesses in terms of the way they would scale.
I think the first part is all about the hustle and grind. I think it's a adage that we've adopted as a solo truth of success, that only through hustling and grinding can we achieve success. I think that's part of what keeps us on the hamster wheel of never being able to get off and never being able to let go. There's a lot behind that. But in that, I think we first have to realize that we're tired of the hustle and grind, that it's not working, that it's not giving us what we want. Because until, unfortunately, it's a beta paradox, right? Where if things are just meh, if they're just okay, we tend to stick with it longer than necessarily we should. It typically takes some sort of bad moment, some breakdown, that's it, I can't do this anymore. Some period of time to where you're just like, enough. I wish more people would get tired in the meh and okay phase and want something better in that phase for themselves, because it's a lot easier, I'll let you know. But we do have to get to this point in time to accept that there's another way to be able to do that. It's not until that moment that you actually can look at something like scaling rich. Scaling rich really is about bringing your business and your life, if you will, into alignment. I kind of alluded to this a little bit before, where, if you've got a car that's backfiring or skipping a gear, then you're really not in a well-oiled machine. And typically it's because something is out of alignment. Now, that can be one of a multitude of things, but it is the first place to start. Because if we can bring things into alignment, and let me give you an example. Let's say you have this vision of being able to take off for 8 weeks, having a personal sabbatical as the owner. Yet there is nothing in your business, either from a structure, support, a people, or even your business model, that would allow for that to happen. Then I think what people do in the hustle and grind is, I just need to get bigger. I need to grow more. I need to make more money. And when that happens someday, I'll take this 8 week sabbatical because it'll be magic and a little golden fairy will have waved her wand. Instead, we need to shift that expectation and bring the business into alignment, bring the people into alignment, bring your systems into alignment. Majority of this, you could, if you wanted an 8 week sabbatical, the fastest time we've been able to help somebody achieve that, and this is a person that was willing to do everything we asked them to do, was about 9 months. In 9 months, we redesigned the business in such a way that the owner felt empowered, felt like everything was going to be safe and a-okay, took off for, at that time, it was more like 5 weeks, but successfully took off. So that is an instance to where I just don't think the things we want in our vision and our dreams should be treated as a reward, because oftentimes our business isn't in alignment to give it to us. So we kind of have to turn some things around to bring it. So that's kind of one of the really big opening concepts with Scaling Rich, is really about bringing things into alignment.
Yeah. No, I love that. The question that you ask is, why did you get in this business in the first place? Was it so that you could work an 80 or 90-hour week?
Yeah,
I probably not. I mean, yes, I love what I do, but I also don't want to do it all the time, right?
exactly.
And um, so All right. So getting that into alignment, is there another fundamental thing that these small business owners that really want to scale their businesses, or something else fundamental that gets in their way of scaling rich?
Yeah, I think really we define it as the triple win, where we're looking for situations and solutions that create wins for all the parties. Let me give you an example. So I was in a networking meeting kind of explaining this concept, and a business owner is like, "Oh, well, I kind of just had that happen." I was like, "Okay, well, tell me more." She goes, "Well, what I want to do is I want to offer health insurance for my team. Valuable team. I'm afraid of losing them. If I lost them, it would be detrimental. And I just really feel like I need to add this benefit." But then I went to go see my CPA. My CPA says, "There's just no way you can afford that. So, no, you can't give health insurance." And in that instance, what we have is we have an or situation, if you will. And essentially, the CPA is like, if you offer health insurance, you will lose money. So I'm choosing profitability for you over health insurance. And now we have two things that are at odds with each other,
Right.
right? So the triple wins starts to go. It asks the wicked question: how can we be profitable and offer health insurance to retain our key employees? And if you start trying to solve that problem, you start looking at, okay, well, how could we do that? Well, first off, are we missing any profits? Could we activate some cash in the business to fund the health insurance? Second off, what does funding health insurance mean? Is it you pay $200 this year, $500 an employee next year, cover the full employee benefit 3 years out? What does it mean to provide health insurance? Right? So suddenly we're like, well, most people are ecstatic to have that as a benefit. My husband works for a major corporation. I'll tell you, I'm like, "Are they paying anything?" Because I know about enough about the back end, right? That I'm like, they've offered health insurance, but they're actually not paying for anything. You
Right.
can see that sometimes, right? So I think we have to open up our brains just a little bit more and find the creative solutions in there that can give you the ability of and. How do we be profitable and offer health insurance?
Yeah.
There's a lots of different strategies. You know them, I know them, that could go into
Sure.
making that happen. It's just that we tend to go no. We tend to put it as or. Well, you can only have one. You can't have it all. You can't have both.
Yeah. No, I think that's a really good point, and one of the things that I love, because one of the things that we do is teach people how to use AI. And one of the things that I love about AI is that it will offer a solution where that you would never have thought of. If you use it properly, use it as a thinking partner, um, and ask it, well, how could we do this? Or give me three ways that we could work with this constraint and come out with a better solution than one or the other by itself, kind of.
And that way you're leaning back into our opportunity, our lands of opportunity, coming right back into our kind of original conversation we started off with. You're leaning into the opportunity, not leaning into the risk, if you will, because you're asking a different and better question. And then you're likely to get a different and better result as a result of it.
Yeah, that's great. So I know you have a book that's out currently. What is that
Yes,
one? Just very quickly.
sure. It's called First This, Then That. It's available on Amazon, and it really is about the fundamentals of growth. So, this is about all the pieces that you should have built in your business, but likely necessarily haven't if you're still struggling with growth.
Great. And you have a free gift for our listeners that have made it through this part of the all the way to this point in the podcast.
We sure do. In fact, we have a special page just for your listeners. It's going to be at yourbizrules.com/profit minds. And you'll see a couple of things there. So, one thing is we are giving kind of a book study guide away for First This Then That. Once Scaling Rich becomes available, it will be accessible there as well. And then, of course, if you think we can help you, there's a way you can get in touch so we can have a conversation, see what we can do.
That's great. And what is the best way is that the best way for people to reach out to you to connect?
It is most definitely. Obviously, we're on LinkedIn. Leslie Hassler, I'm there. We have a great newsletter called The Profitable Growth for Business out on LinkedIn. But if you want to talk to me directly, that's probably the best way because it's got our scheduler.
Great. And that concludes our show. Thanks so much to my guest, Leslie Hassler, an author, a speaker, and the founder of Your Biz Rules. I hope you learned something about the foundational elements of business growth and scaling. I know I did. Thanks for listening. You've been listening to the Profit Minds podcast. This is your host, Dr. Stephen 𝐿. Please visit www.profitminds.net for other episodes or to contact me. Thank you for your positive feedback, comments, questions, and for sharing this show with others. Thanks for listening. Have a grateful day.